Kettle, who is a
Hello,
fitness and
hello.
health expert and lots of experience and stories to share. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. Today we're going to focus on understanding what are maybe some of the signs to know if you have a dysregulated nervous system, what that is, and what are some things that you can do to help to regulate so that you can start getting rid of some of the brain fog and the fatigue. It also contributes to the stress and anxiety as well, and have a more regulated daily rhythm so that you can sleep better as well as wake up and feel refreshed and have that focus and clarity and energy that you need. So, Edel, would you say hello and then share a little bit of what your journey has been understanding what is that? What is nervous system dysregulation and what has really helped you?
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know me, I've been on Miss Miriam's podcasts a few times. So I'm Edel, like kettle, without the K. And yeah, I have been in the health and fitness industry for 20 plus years. I study holistic nutrition, autoimmune nutrition. I've been in this industry for quite some time. I have 6 kids. My youngest is 18, the oldest is 28. I am over 45. So I would say that I have a little bit of, experience in this. But yeah, once I really started learning more about biofrequencies and how it actually impacts your body, because I have been in this industry for so long, I was doing lots of different things to kind of heal myself. I was doing the typical, like the detoxing, and I was taking really good methylated vitamins and minerals. It just wasn't doing anything for me. And, I was on hormonal therapy, 20 plus supplements a day. And that's not including the hormonal therapy. I was on antibiotics as well for other things that I was kind of dealing with. And, we talk about the biofrequencies and every organ, every cell, and this is what I've been learning is that every organ, every cell, the system in your body, everything operates at a specific frequency, at a certain vibration. And even our hearts, for instance, they have a measurable electromagnetic field, which is so interesting. Your brain waves have frequencies too. And when the body feels like something's been disrupted, when something's off, it can be because of stress. It could be because of your diet. It could be because of the environment that you're in, toxins, trauma, especially the trauma people don't understand. It could be just, a car accident or, just like I said, it could be something like that. And it takes your body a minute to heal from those things. And people don't understand that. People don't understand that your body has to recover. Like it feels kind of like if your body will feel off, very dysregulated. And so sometimes you'll even feel a little bit sick. And that's kind of like what was happening to me. I still, even though I was getting all the testing done, the hormonal therapy, getting brain scans, checking my nervous system, and they just kind of chalked it off and said, well, you just have really bad anxiety. And they just kind of gave me stuff. They said that my body was producing cortisol at nighttime. And so they wanted to kind of reverse that. So, long story short, it was on paper, right? When I would go back and they would do the blood work and all the samples, everything was good. They're like, okay, your levels are good, you're fine. This tied into like my hormones. That's why I'm kind of talking about that, but it all kind of ties into each other. And I just still felt like I was out of tune. Like there was just still something so off. And the nervous system, we don't understand that it'll go into a fight or flight mode
Mhm.
without us even knowing that. And our body just cannot, like we can't do both of those things. So anyway, so once I started doing things to better myself, and I started taking things that do protect your body from the EMFs and things like that, from all the bad stuff. It's, I do products that help to remove toxins and things. And in return, my organs are now aligned. My body just feels like it's operating at I guess, normal level, I guess you could call it. And there's just so many benefits to that. So, in a nutshell, I guess what I'm trying to say is that if someone is checking off the boxes, if someone is like, I'm healthy, like I'm perfect, I'm doing everything, I'm staying hydrated, I'm getting my sleep, I'm doing my supplements, my one a days, but they still feel like something is off, I could probably assume or encourage someone that checking the biofrequencies, checking to make sure that that's not what's going on. Because again, sometimes we don't even realize that our nervous system is completely, in my words, jacked up, So,
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of people can relate to your experience because, they're like, I'm exercising, I'm eating healthy, we're taking the supplements, we're drinking the water, we're doing the things, but why do I still feel so fatigued, right? Or brain fogged, or, it could even just be this sort of scatterbrained, overwhelmed, anxious feeling, and, frequently those kinds of things or you're sleeping, but maybe you're not waking up feeling refreshed, right? And I can relate, like I was having that reverse cortisol cycle as well as that they call it a reverse cortisol cycle where we're supposed to be producing that at normal levels in the morning and a little bit of adrenaline and cortisol to give us that energy to do all the things we need to during the day. And then it's supposed to be tapering off in the evening so that we can be, down regulating the system, getting out of that busy state and getting ready to have deep sleep and supporting our brain's ability to actually convert our serotonin to melatonin for sleep. And we talked about that last time. So, now I realize that it is not supposed to be normal to wake up in the morning and feel like you have to drag yourself to that cup of coffee or whatever it is that you do, your energy drink or whatever it is, and constantly throughout the day just feel like there's this fog over your brain or that there's that tired but wired feeling, right? Also that we get, and then the afternoon just crashing and feeling like, oh, I don't want to do anything, right? And so everyone's a little different. For me, it was like a little bit later, around 4 or 5. I would just like lay on the couch and be like, oh, and then I would literally get or make myself or get a coffee that had 4 shots of espresso. And that was after espresso, if you're saying it right. Um, that was after, the morning coffee, couple of cups, and then another couple, and then, and all the vitamins and all the things, exercise, water, all of the things and could not understand, well, I guess this is just normal, right? As a busy mom, as a busy woman, I guess it's just become the norm that that's how you feel because you're busy and you probably don't sleep as a lot because you're a mom or whatever, right? But it
right.
doesn't have to be. So that's what we wanted to talk about today, that if that's where you are or something just feels a little off and you're like, I'm healthy, I'm doing all the things, but something is off. Like she said, I like how you said out of tune. One of my colleagues, she always explains how when we are feeling a little off, that's because our body on a regular basis needs to be tuned or charged, if you will, with the little electrons in our systems. Like you said, every single system has a level that it should be at with what's happening in the molecules. And
Yeah.
we now have a new understanding of that. And it's a study of physics, of the physics of our body. For many years, we've had a lot of chemistry understanding of our biology and how our body works. But now, the past, I would say 5 to 10 years, there's more and more understanding happening of the physics of our body, which means we're looking deeper past just the molecules into, or past the cell, deeper into the molecules now. And we can see what is going on with those little protons and electrons and everything. We can measure that, like she said, that is a frequency or a biofrequency, the rate at which something is occurring in our body. Like, she said the brain waves, the heart, all of that. We can measure that now. And we can measure in the molecules of our body what is going on. Now that we understand that, and we're here to share that with you, because when you understand that, you begin to realize when those levels start getting below what they should be because of, like you said, the stress, the trauma, the lack of sleep, the accumulation of just additives and toxins in our foods, in our air, in our water, the Wi-Fi and the 5G, which we can next time, maybe we can dive more into that because that's a whole other discussion. If you're like, what is that? Ask us later. We can get you some information. But all those things are actually affecting the level at which those molecules should be at, what those electrons are doing in our cells. And when they get too low, you start to have things like mitochondria dysfunction. You start to have all kinds of inflammatory things showing up. I'm sure you can share some of the things. You start seeing hormone disruption. You might see skin issues and rashes and things. You might see
Yeah.
headaches. You might see other actual health conditions showing up in different systems of the body. It definitely affects the thyroid, hormones, adrenal system, even things like blood sugar balance, and all of that can be impacted when those levels are not where they should be with the frequency
Mhm.
of those
Mhm.
electrons. So, ways that you can regularly recharge, little things like grounding, that's become a more common thing that we see out there. People will get the grounding sheets, or they say, get outside and lay on the grass, stand on the grass or the dirt or whatever. Those things are wonderful when you can't. However, sometimes life is busy and you can't always do that. We had a fun little trip recently. We got to go to the beach, and I was just kind of laughing because this is such a great example of grounding and being recharged. We had an extremely long day at Legoland, and everyone was tired, cranky, grumpy, hungry, all the emotions. And of course, I have, four girls, so all the emotions. And
Mhm.
then we were leaving, we're like, oh, it's sunset at the beach. And it's just like right down the road. So we went to the beach, before we were going to grab some dinner. And within 60 seconds of getting on that beach,
Mhm. Mhm.
no one was tired. No one was hungry. No one was cranky. Everyone was just perfectly happy.
Yay.
I was like, wow, this is just incredible how much our body needs this.
Yeah.
Course, we still had dinner, but you know, it's huge when we can regulate our nervous system with those kinds of things. And now we understand why, because of this physics of the cells, and we're understanding that we have that magnetic force of the earth with the ground or the sand or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So the rhythmic frequency of the waves, that is something that actually helps our brain waves, helps our nervous system.
Mhm.
All of these things together are helping. And that's why you mentioned you found some things that have helped you with the charged rise drink, with all the different adaptogens and stuff. It's not just about the nutritional part of it, which is great. It's about that there's 11 harmonic biofrequencies charged with the nutrition
Mhm.
and with the minerals, right? We have the rise and source together, and how that helps to regulate the nervous system in addition to supporting the hormones and everything. And I think that is what sets it apart, is that regulation of the nervous system together with the minerals and nutrients. Because the same thing happens that I just saw on that beach when my kids are using that rise and source as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure you can share your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah. So, no, I love everything. I love literally everything that you were saying. It's like you were reading my mind. That's what's when I talk about this stuff, right? I talk about the frequencies, the disc on the products and things like that. And I kind of talk about a little bit about it, but people say, okay, what's the big deal? Well, what happens is and because sometimes they can really get in their head and just be like, oh, this is kind of weird. But all they did was they added the frequency component to the product, to your vitamins, your minerals, your BCAAs, your trace minerals. They just added the frequency component so that you're getting maximum benefits to every single one of those ingredients that are in there so that you can operate at an optimum level. And when I talk about like the hormonal thing and how it ties in our endocrine system, it's it controls the hormones. And so people don't understand that when you're in constant fight or flight mode, you can actually suppress your reproductive hormones like your estrogen, your progesterone. I was low on progesterone. That your testosterone, it disrupts your thyroid. People don't understand, like when your body's in fight or flight mode, it'll, disrupt your thyroid. It affects your insulin. And so, using the biofrequencies that we're talking about right now and the biofrequencies that are on these products. Um, and I'm sorry that I don't want it to be just about that, but I do want to, I'm just saying what's been working for me. But by using the biofrequencies, it's helped to calm the nervous system. So in return, you're functioning better. In return, it's improving your sleep. It's helping your hormones. It's helping cycles in women. It's increasing testosterone in men. It supports your thyroid. So, it all kinds of, it like ties into one another.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion, it helps the biofrequencies help in every level. And since they do work synergistically, since they do have the adaptogens, it will help in whatever area you're lacking. So for me, because it was my nervous system, because it was my hormones, just different areas in that sense. Um, I mean, I really can't, like, I can't put in words, like, it just helped to align me. Like my body literally hit like a reset button. That's the best way that I can tell people.
Yep.
And so when we are doing those things and we are just adding the component of the biofrequencies, like you mentioned, right? Things that we can do, the grounding, getting outside, putting your feet. The beach is like my favorite area. And out here in my yard, like we have a really big yard and the sun just hits at the right time. And I'll just like stand out there. I'm pretty sure my neighbors are like, what is she doing? But it's okay though, because I'm just like standing out there and I'm just like, I'll have my eyes closed and just kind of just even like breathing techniques help so much as well, with your natural biofrequency, like just sitting out there. We talked about the pimp mats, even staying hydrating, and like staying hydrated is water is a conductor, as well. So it helps with that. And dehydration actually disrupts it. And
Yeah.
what I encourage people to, though, is you have to have specific minerals in order for you to get full benefits of the water that you're drinking. That's another thing too that we don't talk about. So you have to have your trace minerals in order to be able to absorb the right way.
Yeah.
And so again, the component of the frequencies, the disc that's on there, it just you're able to just get the proper benefits for what your body is lacking. So
Yes. And I love that you mentioned there's a few different ways you can support. So we'll hone in on that in a second. But I also love how you mentioned that it's a tuning. It's a regular tuning. Because some people are like, oh, well, do I have to use these things like forever, for my health or whatever? And it's like, well, it depends on the person. But, our body actually uses these certain minerals and things as fuel on a regular basis. And like you said, to absorb our water, to help with hormones in the brain and all kinds of different things. So this regular tuning with the right nutrients and things like the grounding, the nervous system regulation, the deep breathing, like you mentioned, are actually should be a regular daily habit that we are refueling and recharging or retuning, if you will, because when we just sit stagnant or when we just have our normal, we're stuck in the fight or flight and we're just busy, 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 all these things are depleting our nutrients in our body, our minerals. You cannot get enough from your food, but please eat your healthy fruits and vegetables, all the things, right? However, a lot of people don't realize that most of our produce, even organic, is quite depleted of what it used to be, about 1/20th of the nutritional value that we used to have, 20 years ago or so. So we still need as much as we can, but you'd have to consume almost 200 pounds of fruits and vegetables a day to really get enough of all of the things. But if we can refuel and tune, if an instrument just sits and you're not using it, or it gets moved in and out of a vehicle or whatever it is, and it doesn't get retuned, it will not sound good. It will not function correctly unless you have a regular tuning and continue to, on a regular basis, retune and recharge. And that's what our body needs. So, would you highlight? You've mentioned a few things, for yourself and speaking to someone else who maybe has some of those similar things, the anxiety, the hormone imbalance, the inflammation going on and everything, and needs to regulate the nervous system. What would be your top three or four like daily habits that you think have really helped make a profound difference?
So I would say the biggest the biggest component is, and it's gonna I don't know how this is gonna sound, but um taking time to be a little bit selfish and just
Self-care,
yeah, self-care. Here's the thing, like we just as individuals, we do put ourselves last. Dads, they work all the time and they just work.
Mm.
Mom, same things. We work, we take care of the kids, we do all of that, and we will put our health last. So I feel like when I really started just getting to the root of what was going on, that's when things started changing because once I started focusing on truly healing my nervous system. So I would say technically the first one would be healing my nervous system. And by that, I started implementing products that have the frequency component and the vitamins and minerals and the BCAAs that my body needs, and healing the mitochondria. That's what, because the mitochondria, it does like it also impacts like your muscles, your brain. Like it's, oh my gosh, we're gonna have to do that part for another
Or
one
we'll have
because
to do like a whole other segment. Yeah.
yeah, we'll have to do another one because
Yeah.
it's so just really healing the nervous system would be the biggest thing. If anyone truly wants to, like, I am just tired of just putting band-aids. That is the biggest thing. Be selfish and take care of your health. Like that is the first one. And then I would say it's implementing or adding those things that you know are good for your body.
Hmm.
Hydration, 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 hydration. It is so important. Hydrating is like a big thing for me, and making sure that I'm getting the proper nutrition. Nutrition is so important. Um, I don't have a top three because I feel like, doing all of those things, exercising, good habits, and just taking care of like really taking care of your body, taking the time to just have your one-on-one time with Jesus. Like that's, so you can kind of get back to like, okay, I need to just bring it down a notch, calm down. And because again, like everything I feel like that I'm gonna say that I have said, it just all ties into one another, like
Yeah.
it's
It's
um
interconnected, right? Which is why
yeah.
we have these discussions because, I think there's not enough support and information for people to understand how to support the interconnected well-being, mental, physical, emotional,
Hmm.
spiritual.
Hmm.
We are not just one, a lot of the care options out there in healthcare, it's very disjointed. We have the psychologist over there, and we have this over there, and we have the cardiologist here, and the hormone doctor there, and it's a bit disjointed. Um,
Hmm.
there's a time and a place, for medical care, absolutely. And, we always are a proponent of, check with your care provider and monitor your labs and all of those things, right? And I'm sure as you have been studying the functional nutrition and hormones, especially, right, has been your focus.
Autoimmune and holistic nutrition. Yep. Hormonal
Autoimmune, yes.
nutrition. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And as someone who I have had autoimmune and now it is in remission, I can tell you, it's absolutely about the whole person. And like you said, it is interconnected. So one of my top recommendations, if you're like, okay, where do I start, is simply to look at your daily routine and what you are already doing on a routine basis. You get up and you brush your teeth or whatever, okay? What are you doing in the morning already? Or you get up and you make that cup of coffee? In the middle of the day, do you have lunch or what's your routine thing that you always do? In your afternoon before or after dinner, what are you always doing? What are you doing right before you go to bed? What do you always do? And in those little pockets, right before or after something you already do, just choose to say, is there something I can do for 60 seconds to help regulate my nervous system, help do a little reset? Maybe it's just closing your eyes for 30 to 60 seconds, take a few deep breaths, focus on what you're grateful for, do a prayer, scripture, affirmation to help just with that reset. Maybe a little stretch, to get some of the tension out, move your lymphatic system, right, and help to just those little resets. Start with those small little tunings, if you will, and then you can always add to that over time and you can build and maybe do a 5-10 minute walk or a 10-minute little workout, or you can start to expand on that over time, but just start with one thing in your morning, your middle of your day routine, and your evening routine.
Mm-hmm.
60 seconds and then go from.
Yep.
And that's one of the best ways that I've seen for so many of my clients to start to make changes, because it becomes routine. It becomes a new
Yeah.
habit that you can start to build on over time. And it's just easier to get into a rhythm, so that instead of like, these extreme diet plans or whatever, detoxes and things like that, that they work for
Yeah.
a short time, but then you're right back where you started.
Yeah. And I'm loving all of that you just said because people will be surprised what breathing what breathing will do to your brain waves, to
Mhm.
your nervous system. Like it helps to calm your nervous system instantly. And beforehand, I know for me, anytime I was in fight or flight mode, I was just, how should I say, like I was just a robot. Like I wouldn't even think about how I was feeling. I was like, it doesn't matter what's going on. I don't have a choice. I have to keep going and going and going. And then it was when I finally started healing my body, healing from within, like really, really healing, that I was like, huh, that's pain. That's stress. Like so you really start to target the feelings and emotions and what your body is truly enduring. So just taking the time, like you said, to breathe. I would say a really important one too, because I don't want to not talk about this, is EMF overload. We're surrounded by TV screens, laptops, cell phones. Um, so we have so much exposure to EMFs, our Wi-Fi, all of that disrupts your body as well. So just kind of the biggest thing is the importance is that we all understand that even taking a break from our electronic devices, because having too much EMF overload will definitely mess with the biofrequencies in your body and your organs, and just all that exposure is like, we talk about that so much. So just making sure that we take the time to have a little, device detox, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, who knows? But just
Mhm.
taking the time to do that too is so important. And like we talked about the grounding, hydration, just making sure that we focus on those things, I think is going to be really good. And, the next podcast, I think it would be, right now it's a cliffhanger. So we'll talk about mitochondria and and our lymphatic system. I think that would be so much fun.
Yes, yes, we can do more on the next one. And I love that you mentioned, all the Wi-Fi, the 5G, the devices that
Yeah.
we're on all the time. Back up your time in the evening before bed that you get off the screens, because, looking at the screens, our brain thinks it's at like noon when
Yeah.
that blue light coming in, all that. So speaking of nervous system dysregulation, that's going to contribute to the issues with the cortisol and everything. So that's something, important. So we can probably do a whole other one on that too. But
Yeah.
just a little tidbit for you guys, just be careful about in the evenings, reducing that screen time, use your blue light glasses and stuff,
Yeah.
all that. So absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Edel. Really appreciate you sharing, and I look
Yes.
forward to our next discussion soon.
I know. Man, I always feel like it's too long. You know what I mean?
The time,
By
I
the
know
time,
we have to get on a regular,
yeah,
we'll talk. We'll get on a
I
regular
know. And
routine.
it's always such good conversation. So thank you for, allowing me to speak on all of these things. And, I do want, there's just so much awareness that I want to spread. And I feel like these topics do not get talked about enough. And again, like I'm just so grateful that I have this time to be able to share with people because, this journey that I feel it's not going to be void, the things that I've endured with my health and my walk. And so and I'm just grateful that we have this platform that you've allowed me to speak on your platform. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I need to do my own podcast, Edel Like Kettle. That'd be a
Yeah,
great little.
there you go. Yeah, you
No,
absolutely.
just kidding. I probably
But
would. Anyway-
or
Anyways,
you can share mine. No, awesome. Well, I really enjoy it and love it. I look forward to the next one, and we'll talk soon.
yes, ma'am.